A frustrating stalemate between Manchester United and Crystal Palace. Brace yourselves, because I'm definitely going to be critical of Erik Ten Hag in this video. Without any further ado, you say it this time. Go ahead, just say it. What's the big deal? I mean, I say it all the time. Just go ahead. Your turn now. Alright, let's get started with our tactical analysis video, and let's start from where we always start, which is the shape of the opposition. And of course, Glasner loves narrow formations. He loves to play 3-4-3 or, you know, a 5-3-2 or 5-4-1 formation. That's what he used to do at Frankfurt, and that's definitely what he's doing at Crystal Palace. And these formations are extremely stubborn because, as you can see here, literally, I mean, they constrict the space and restrict the space that the opposition can exploit. In this case, as you can see, you know, Dalot, who likes to drop into the midfield alongside Kobe Mainoo right here. You know, they're boxed. We don't really have much passing lanes from the defenders towards the forwards. But as frustrating as this system is, and as effective as it is at, preventing the opposition from playing from the back, we still created our chances. But that's not the only thing, because the other reason why we were able to create a lot of chances because we were playing most of the game in Crystal Palace's half in the first half, okay? And one of the reasons for that is, of course, because our defenders were actually excellent. In this case, for example, Mazraoui, who kept Eze quiet for most of the game. And of course, Eze is, of course, Crystal Palace's talisman, their star player. But he was not the only one. Diogo Dalot was also excellent against Nketiah. And then here, of course, Matthias de Ligt, and then later on, as I'm going to show you, Lisandro Martinez did a very good job on Mateta. In fact, Mateta, the fact that Glasner went with Mateta actually made it extremely easy for us because he's more of a target man kind of striker who doesn't offer a lot of threat in behind the defense. Therefore, it allowed Lisandro Martinez and De Ligt to push really high up. Basically, we were playing in Crystal Palace's half. And this also, just a little note, this is great improvement from Manchester United of last season because in the second half against Southampton, we didn't concede any shots on goal. And then here in the first half against Crystal Palace, the first Crystal Palace shot on goal was in the 44th minute. So literally in the first half, we were completely dominating Crystal Palace. But of course, this man right here, Wharton, another player that I like, a good little midfielder, but he was off pace in this game, as you can see here from this pass. Again, very easy to read for Lisandro Martinez, who really both him and and Matthias de Ligt did a good job on Mateta. So obviously here Glasner could see that there were some issues. First of all, with Mateta, so there was no threat in behind the defensive line. They could not go direct with Mateta, but also because of Wharton, he could not act as a reliable link between defense and attack. And of course, here in this sequence as well, he was a liability defensively. He was quite error prone. I mean, in this case, had Xerxes and Garnacho not gotten in each other's way, this could have led to a very high quality chance for Manchester United. And of course, we were able to create some amazing chances because of some good pattern of plays. As you can see here, some of you, those of you who follow Scarlet Report, you may remember this exact frame from the Southampton game. Basically overloading one area of the pitch, as you can see Christian Eriksen right here going into the wide areas in order to attract all of the opposition players to this area of the pitch right here. But then Dalot, who cuts inside, is available to receive the ball. And as you can see, he's got a lot of space to exploit. The ball is going to find its way towards Christian Eriksen over here, who literally was channeling his inner Paul Scholes. I mean, I'm really happy with what he did against Southampton, against Barnsley, and then in this game also he was very good, reminiscent of the Christian Eriksen from the first half of his first season at Manchester United, where he had 7 assists and 1 goal before he got injured. The ball makes its way towards Diogo Dalot, and then that's a beautiful pass into the path of Garnacho, and Garnacho should have scored that. He's really in form. He had some really good chances. He should have scored that. Now, so what we have here, the first half, Manchester United dominated, but then Glasner is a very good tactician. So he has identified the problems, Mateta and Wharton. And then at the 45th minute, halftime, he just makes the changes. Both of them were starters for Crystal Palace throughout his tenure at Crystal Palace up to this point. But then he made the bold move. Okay, guys, take a break. It's not working out. I'm going with Ismail Assar, a faster, more technical forward to make it life harder for De Ligt and Lisandro Martinez. And I'm going with Lerma because I want a much more experienced midfielder, someone who can actually assert some sort of control over the midfield. And here, let's see what kind of changes and what kind of effect did these changes, have on the game. So here Lerma, obviously he can get on the ball a little more. So here he's on the ball. He's trying to assess his options. As you can see here, the Manchester United trio in midfield, Eriksen, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes are trying to block the passing lane. And here, as you can see, Lerma is literally talking with his teammates and he's like, guys, come on, make yourselves available. I've got the ball, but you need to make some moves. And here, Nketiah is going to oblige, is going to move into Eriksen's blind spot over here. Lerma finds him with the pass. And then here, Ismail Assar is much harder to defend against than Mateta. As you can see here, he's making life really hard for Lisandro Martinez. He's moving into the empty space, and Nketiah should have played this through ball with his left foot, since he's right-footed, into the path of Ismail Assar. He probably could have scored from that area. He chose to go with the shot, and then great save from Onana, and then a beautiful and even better second save. Great double save from Onana. Had he not done this, I'm not sure we would have won the game. Okay, just as he saved us in the game against Southampton with that penalty save, I'm not sure we would have won this game had Onana not made this particular save. So definitely Lerma's introduction into the game definitely gave Crystal Palace a little bit more control in midfield. But they got even more control when they introduced Will Hughes for Nketiah. Effectively, in my opinion, what Glasner was signaling to Erik Ten Hag is that I'm happy with the stalemate, because he did not sacrifice any of his 5 defenders. He sacrificed Nketiah, one of his forwards, effectively moving into a 5-3-2 or maybe even a 5-4-1 in some cases formation, literally saying I'm just trying to lock the game down. And basically the reason why I introduced Will Hughes is just so the Crystal Palace midfielders, Lerma, Will Hughes and Kamada, can go 1v1 against Manchester United's midfield trio. And you can see that here, where literally you see Hughes on Bruno Fernandes, Lerma on Kobbie Mainoo, and then Kamada on Christian Eriksen. But what's impressive about the sequence, by the way, this is what has led to Eze's chance, the best chance in the game. That should have been the chance that has led to them getting the 3-point in a smash and grab fashion. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So here, Lerma is showing that he can do the job of 2 midfielders. A defensive job on Kobbie Mainoo and, a typical midfielder's job in terms of ball progression. So here he's moving into this empty area right after he's done his marking defensive job on Kobbie Mainoo. Now, look at him. He's checking to see where Kobbie Mainoo is. And he realizes that he does have some time to receive the ball. He receives it. Kobbie Mainoo is here, but it's already too late. Lerma, with that beautiful technique right there, beautiful oriented first touch, he's able to position himself in a situation where he's facing the game. He's got the game in front of him, so he can act as a playmaker. Kobbie Mainoo right here, it doesn't matter where he is. But then, what does this remind you of? But then getting ready to attack the ball, well back towards Joao Pedro, very good, and then he just passes Lisandro Martinez. Guys, this is not good enough. I think Lisandro Martinez deserves criticism here. Oh my God, this is the second time in, 4 games that Lisandro Martinez finds himself in this situation. Happened against Brighton, happened again against Crystal Palace. He really struggles with these fast, tricky strikers, the likes of Welbeck, Joao Pedro, and in this case, Ismail Assar, who come in deep and then they can easily turn around him and move into empty spaces. So here, as you can see, Ismail Assar has a lot of space to exploit. This as a result, drags Matthias de Ligt towards Ismail Assar, which in turn frees up Eze to receive the ball from Kamada. And then Kamada, of course, is going to execute a beautiful pass into Eze's path, which now drags de Ligt back towards Eze, because that's where the danger is, freeing up, in turn, Ismail Assar. And then Ismail Assar now does what Mateta cannot do, which is with his dribbling ability, his first touch, he's able to take out 2 Manchester United players, okay? Out of the game, De Ligt and Dalot, and then lays in this pass. And then how did Eze miss this? This should have been the goal that should have given Crystal Palace the 3 points. And truth be told, based on their second half performance, they definitely would have deserved the win, okay? Because Glasner really made astute changes that really gave his team the edge over Manchester United. Next, this sequence right here literally made me want to cry. Look how helpless the Manchester United players are. So here, Bruno Fernandes, because he's trying to find space, his only option is to push up more aggressively, but then that means that the centre-backs, there are 3 of them, remember, can just mark him like they would mark a striker. There are many of them, there are plenty of them. They can definitely have one of them just go to Bruno Fernandes and the other one act in cover. So he's not in a position where he can receive the ball. But even more pathetic is this situation right here. So here what we have is Kobbie Mainoo trying to do what worked for us against Southampton and what worked for us in the first half against Crystal Palace by going wide. But the problem here is that nobody is following him. And the reason why is because this Crystal Palace system that Glasner has provides Crystal Palace defensively with a lot of redundancy. They're like a Boeing 747, you know, if one engine goes off, the plane can still fly on 3 engines, okay? Redundancy. Here, for example, Munoz, if the ball goes to Kobbie Mainoo, he can go there without them really compromising their defensive stability. And here we also have Lerma, who is literally like an extra man in midfield, who can just go towards Bruno Fernandes and allow Will Hughes to go towards Ugarte. So none of the Manchester United midfielders are able to get in the game. In fact, when I was watching the game, a friend of mine told me, oh, come on, what's with the pedestrian football? We need more urgency. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, but aren't you noticing? Can't you see that the Manchester United midfielders cannot get on the ball? And the Manchester United players were crying out for some sort of guidance, some sort of leadership, some sort of help or a tip, or, you know, adaptability, tactical adaptability from Erik Ten Hag, because they were just clueless. The system did not work. And Crystal Palace were really well set up in the second half by Glasner to simply nullify the Manchester United midfield. And they did that expertly. And so we find ourselves in situations like these. By the time the Ligt gets the ball, as he's getting ready to play a long ball, Bruno Fernandes is telling him, no, chill. Yeah, but Bruno, you're not getting that ball. Nobody's getting that ball. The only thing the Ligt can do is to go wide and high with a long ball towards Marcus Rashford. Which leads me to my second point, the Marcus Rashford substitution. Because just as much as Glasner's substitutions were inspired and extremely effective, Erik Ten Hag's substitutions really left me scratching my head, especially when he substituted Xerxes after 60 minutes. Now, what I gotta say is that when you substitute a player after 60 minutes, it's because either they have a knock or you're saving them for, you know, a future upcoming game, or because they're coming back from injury, so you want to just ease them into being match fit. None of these, as far as I know, relate to Xerxes. So that means that Erik Ten Hag literally analyzed the game and he identified Xerxes as a liability, just as Glasner has identified Mateta as a liability for Crystal Palace. And then he thought that Rashford would be the solution. But that's wrong. That's just simply wrong, because in a game where Bruno Fernandes was off pace, Xerxes was actually the only player who provided any type of creativity in the final third. For example, here with his physicality against Lerma, actually, this was not a foul. Look at that. I love that. That was not a foul, just shoulder on shoulder. And then here, look at this. He receives the ball, just comes in deep again. Christian Eriksen is making the move. And then look at that. Beautiful back heel into the path of Christian Eriksen. Things move super fast with Joshua Xerxes. Okay? Another example right here. The reason why we were able to build up from the back in the first half, again, is because Xerxes always drop in into these spaces right here, so Kobbie Mainoo can literally play off of him like this, and then we are good to go. Here's another example. Look how fast things move with Xerxes. Bruno Fernandes can again play off of him. Look at this. 1, 2. That's it. Very simple. And then Bruno Fernandes is in the situation where he should have scored. This should have been a goal. Come on, Bruno Fernandes. I think that Bruno Fernandes burnout that I've been talking about and I've been anticipating for 2 seasons now, I think that it's finally catching up with us right now. I think that we can say Bruno Fernandes this season seems a little bit off pace, okay? But look at this. Xerxes again, he can anticipate and see Garnacho's run, and then beautiful pass into his path, and then Garnacho again, like he's an electric player. Alright, so while Glasner's substitutions were really effective for Crystal Palace and literally changed the game positively for them in that it gave them a little bit more control as well as a threat in behind, I think that our work was cut out because of Erik Ten Hag's substitutions. Xerxes substituted for Rashford is something that I cannot wrap my head around, because when you play a low block team like Crystal Palace, you need a link-up player like Xerxes, someone who can play in and around the box, can bring others into play and create space for others. Rashford, on the other hand, is a player who thrives on exploiting spaces. And if there was one scarce commodity in this game, as I've shown you in my tactical analysis video, is definitely spaces. So Rashford, if anything, should have substituted Garnacho, player for player, like for like, provide that direct threat in behind and on the wide areas, but not as a Xerxes replacement. Also, with Glasner introducing Will Hughes, he literally has changed his shape mid-game. So the shape has been changing as the game was going. When was the last time that we've seen evidence of this from Erik Ten Hag? I think the only example that can be used is, of course, how he used Scott McTominay last season. But guys, I'm trying to be humble here. I'm really trying to be humble, but I have to say this. I talked about Scott McTominay being more of a shadow striker, a player who can be used in the box rather than deeper in midfield back when Ralf Rangnick was manager. At the time, this channel was not even called Scarlet Report, guys. It was called Everything Football. Some of you probably remember those dark days. And I've talked about it back then. That means that a manager managing Manchester United should have seen that. But when was the last time? And this is the question. When was the last time you guys can remember Erik Ten Hag changing the shape, going to a 4-4-2 or something midway through the game in order to adapt to the opposition? Because I can't remember it. But what we have evidence of is that more often than not, Erik Ten Hag fails to get any positive effect out of his substitutions. A lot of times, as was the case in this game, it's the opposite effect. His substitutions have sapped any quality and enthusiasm and energy and swagger that the team had in the first half. And he could not adapt to Glasner's substitutions. So if there is one criticism of Erik Ten Hag that I'm definitely on board with, is definitely his in-game management. That's definitely something that needs to improve. He's very good at setting up his team before the game, but if things don't work out, how do you adapt halfway through the game? How do you adapt to the changes of the opposition manager? Up till now, I haven't yet seen any evidence that Erik Ten Hag can do that and can do it effectively and consistently. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this game? Let me know what you think about this video. If you like it, guys, please give it the thumbs up. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, cheers.